Minimum wage technical committees of the tripartite committee dissolves into plenary as governors forum worry over sustainability.
At the level of our committee, we have reached near consensus.
Experts review collaboration and innovation for addressing cancer care disparities among black population.
Understand the genetic and molecular landscape of cancers in African black population, which will enable the development of more effective, less toxic treatments.
And 1 year of Tinubu administration, abandoned 10-year vice president's residence comes to fruition.
We are fulfilling a long-standing commitment and reaffirming our unwavering dedication, accountability, transparency, and the efficient utilization of resources.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on Network News on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I'm Lami Ali. Reading with me tonight is Benny Adams on Business News. Remember, you can watch this broadcast live on our social media platforms displayed on your screen. Now we begin with the minimum wage discussions. It's been long hours of engagements of subcommittees created by the Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage. Yesterday, the committee broke into subcommittees to converge today for dialogue. From 12 noon, the various groups met to discuss the critical issues involved, and by 7 p.m., they were done to reconvene for the committee of the whole, where each group will make its presentation. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma of the press after the subcommittees meetings.
We have reached near consensus, and it is our hope that by the time we get to the plenary, we'll have a complete agreement, and maybe from there, the media can start their job. But as it is now, I think we are better off now than we were.
Present are the Secretary to the Governments of the Federation, George Akume, Minister of State, Labour and Employment Nkiruka Onyejocha, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Wale Adun, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Hope Uzodimma, the Governor of Imo, representing the Governors Forum. Now, the Nigeria Governors Forum says the 60,000 naira minimum wage for state workers nationwide cannot be sustainable over current economic realities. The forum acknowledges the fact that a new minimum wage is due and sympathizes with the organized labor push for a higher wage. In a statement, its acting director, Media and Press Affairs, Halim Ahmed Yakubu, urges all parties to consider the fact that the minimum wage negotiations also involve consequential adjustments across all cadres, including pensioners. The NGF cautions parties in this important discussion to look beyond just signing a document for the sake of it. Any agreement to be signed should be sustainable and realistic, she noted. It adds that states will spend all their FAC allocations on just paying salaries with nothing left for development purposes and ends up borrowing to pay workers every month. NGF appeals to parties involved, especially the labor unions, to consider all the socio-economic variables and settle for an agreement that is sustainable, durable and fair to all segments of the society who have legitimate claim to public resources. We now go live to the venue of the negotiations to join our correspondent, Ignatius Nkwo, who is going to brief us on the developments there at the venue. Hello, Ignatius.
Good evening, Lami.
Well, it's been a long day for the Tripartite Committee negotiating the new minimum wage. Tell us, how optimistic are you or the other parties of an amicable resolution?
Yeah, actually, it's been a marathon engagement here for this tripartite committee. You know, this is collective bargaining, and in collective bargaining, every party wants to protect its interest. it's been hands-on for this committee, for this tripartite committee here, because actually, from the look of things, you see that all the parties, there is the zeal and commitment to ensure that this negotiation comes to an end before the 1 week that the organized labor had given them. So, when they reconvened this morning around 11 o'clock, thereabouts, some of the subcommittees, they begin to engage and meet in separate meeting rooms where they were discussing, like I did say earlier, it's a collective bargaining. It's been hands-on for them. You see, the tripartite committee made up of the organized labor, the organized private sector, and government, they were all quite committed. All of them, they spend like 7 to 8 hours deliberating in their various committee rooms, making negotiations, and then eventually they come back. And at the moment, as I'm talking to you, they've reconvened for plenary, where the general issues will be tabled, the nitty-gritty of the discussion is already on the board. But as I'm talking to you at the moment, Labour has just moved out of the room to another conference room where they want to discuss among themselves and come back. Remember, is a bargaining process.
Sticking points has just been raised by the Governors Forum, where it expressed reservations about the 60,000 naira offer by governments. As it says, it's not sustainable. What do you advise parties do to reach a common ground given the current global economic situation?
Well, the news got to us here. It filtered in here just like the way people outside got it. But at this venue, there's not been an official statement from the committee. Remember, there are people, there are representatives of the Governors Forum as well. Earlier, we spoke with the governor of Imo State, who is here in his capacity as a governor to represent the Governors Forum. But he never made any mention of what we are already seeing in the media. But the truth is that, like I did say, it's a bargaining process. Every party wants to protect its interests. Yes, the governors are looking at that, the amount that must be approved must be the one that will be sustained by them. But then, of course, the organized labor is saying that they want a living wage for Nigerian workers. And as a matter of fact, it's a news that filtered into this place. And for now, there has not been an official statement by the committee released as a statement.
We're having some unstable signal there, so we're going to get back to you, Ignatius, much later for an update. Now, the federal government has promised to initiate more developmental projects to meet the evolving needs of the country. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this as the inauguration of the Vice President's official residence awarded in 2010. State House correspondent Abdulrahman Jibrila reports.
An amazing masterpiece standing at the arm zone of Abuja. A breathtaking look from the exterior, and it's the official residence of the Vice President. 15 units of blocks of this befitting edifice awarded in 2010 at the cost of 7 billion naira and re-awarded in January this year at the cost of 21 billion naira. The event marked the series of inaugurations of completed projects unveiled by the FCT administration within a year, with commitment to prioritize infrastructure development as a cornerstone of the renewed hope agenda.
As the official residence of the Vice President, we are fulfilling a long-standing commitment and reaffirming our unwavering dedication to accountability, transparency, and the efficient utilization of resources for the betterment of our nation.
Environment affects productivity. Environment affects efficiency. By the time you go in here and see what is provided, I'm sure Mr. Vice President will be more encouraged to do more work than where he stays now.
The accelerated infrastructure development drive, Vice President Kashim Shettima extolled the ethics of the FCT administration, commending their hard work and commitment in delivering critical projects within a year. In Abuja, Abdulrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
The journey towards an improved cancer treatment and care in Nigeria got a boost with a national symposium on cancer genomics, precision oncology care, and precision community health for Black populations. Uche Gochukwu reports that the importance of collaboration and innovation in addressing the disparities in cancer care and outcomes among Black populations was the high point of the events in Abuja.
Since 1960, advancing cancer treatment and care has top priority of Nigerian government. With precision medicine, there is hope of tailoring cancer treatments to individual patients, taking into account their unique genetic makeup and other factors. In the light of this, the symposium brought together experts from across the medical and research fields to share insights, innovations, and strategies in the battle against cancer, with special focus on the unique challenges faced by Black communities.
Understand the genetic and molecular landscape of cancers in African Black population, which will enable the development of more effective, less toxic treatments. Precision community health will ensure that these advancements reach a population equitably, bridging the gap in care and fostering a healthier community.
This symposium is an opportunity to engage with world-renowned experts, explore innovative research, and forge strategic partnership.
We do what is called evidence-based interventions. And our focus is how we can bring together collaborations across different continents in order to accelerate health.
To understand which cancers are increasing in incidence, which cancers are increasing in mortality. It allows a country to know how to invest.
These experts are optimistic that with collaborative efforts, there will be a future where every individual receives personalized and equitable care. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
More reports on Network News after these messages. Do stay tuned. You're welcome back. Residents of Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have heaved a sigh of relief following the inauguration of the NTA River Basin Erosion Control Drainage Project embarked upon by the federal government under the aegis of the National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission. The project was inaugurated by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. Charles Abba reports that the SGF was represented by the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsef.
The move to construct the NTA River Basin Erosion Control Drainage Project started around 2017 following perennial flooding and erosion that continue to ravage the community.
Before, it was watery. All over all those houses within. When it is rainy season, their houses used to be in water.
The water will pack our things and throw it away, and we walk inside. And we thank God for what they come and do here.
As they are commissioning this today, we are so grateful. We are appealing to them. We have to thank the director and whoever that is concerned.
Secretary to the Government of the Federation, represented by the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsef, said, the present administration is all-inclusive and committed to make life meaningful for the citizenry.
I urge the Commission to continue to liaise with the state government in the delivery of people-oriented projects, which I believe is a major task the present state government is addressing. We are confident that with our continued support and collaboration, we can achieve even greater milestones in our shared mission to address flood and erosion challenges.
I want to assure you that this section of the channel will also be addressed. We have directed the Directorate of Engineering to come up with the cost.
The 1.2-kilometer drainage project inaugurated is part of ecological interventions by Hyperdeck in its coverage areas. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
And from Borno comes the news that the state governor, Umar Zulum, has delivered parts of the 36,050 kg bags of assorted grain donated by the federal government to support vulnerable families. The distribution took place in Pulka town, where 10,000 residents each received a 50 kg bag of grain. Mohammed Guni brings us the details.
The federal government, through the National Emergency Management Agency, handed over about 36,000 bags of assorted grains that include millet, sorghum, and maize as part of efforts to provide succor to the vulnerable in the society. Governor Zulum expressed gratitude to the federal government for the donation, noting that it came when such a gesture was most needed.
I want to commend the federal government of Nigeria under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for coming to our aid at this very important time that people are preparing to cultivate their lands.
The governor also added, in addition to the over 36,000 bags of assorted grains, the federal government has donated rice to Borno, which the state government has started receiving. Meanwhile, Governor Zulum also supervised disbursement of 22 million naira cash to 22,000 vulnerable women and widows in Fulka ward of Goza local government as part of the state government's financial inclusion scheme.
We are also providing 10,000 naira each to about 22,000 women in Fulka, Warabe, Goshe, and Kirawa communities of Goza local government areas, and Erafa.
The beneficiaries expressed gratitude for the support extended to them, describing it as timely. In Maiduguri, Mohamed Goni, NTA News.
In a bid to promote environmental conservation and sustainable developments, the Development Bank of Nigeria is partnering the National Conservation Foundation towards reducing carbon footprints across the country. Benny Adams reports. Thus, the Green Schools, Green Villages move is part of activities marking the 2024 World Environment Day.
Away from the comfort of the city and DBN's traditional mandate of funding small businesses, the management and staff of the bank are all out demonstrating commitment to a sustainable environment. At LEA Pegi in Karuluku government area of the FCT, it is the moment of seeding a greener future with 100 economic and medicinal trees to be nurtured to maturity by these young minds who are fast becoming environmental stewards. Arriving at the conservation site in Karu Axis was a task achieved with determination as the managing director of the bank, Tony Opanachi, led by example by planting and watering many out of the more than 700 trees for the site. He says a threat to the ecosystem is a threat to humanity and has to be salvaged by all.
We all know the devastating effect of carbon emission, and we want in our own little way to see how can we reduce that, how can we begin to protect and preserve our environment. So as DBN, like you rightly said, focus on micro, small and medium enterprises. We also want to lead from the front to see that we come and demonstrate clearly what can be done. And today, what we've done, we are planting about 800 trees.
And we are glad the Development Bank of Nigeria have funded NCF, Abuja office, to come and plant more trees, in the site given to the organization by the federal government. And obviously, conservation is about sustainability. We want to sustain the natural resources that are really available.
With the demonstration that economic growth and environmental conservation can go hand in hand, the bank says more disbursement should be expected from its partners in the next half of the year. Benny Adams, NTA News.
Now, the Coalition of Civil Society Against Corruption is appealing to anti-graft and anti-corruption agencies in the country to ensure adherence to the Procurement Act in both the public and private sectors to curtail corruption in the process of awarding contracts. The coordinator of the coalition says Nigeria is losing billions of naira annually through procurement fraud, especially by duplicating contracts that have already been awarded.
To ascertain whether they genuinely took contracts or they are just fronting for corrupt officials.
Sustainable procurement practices in public offices will promote transparency and accountability while fostering good governance. This resonated at the fourth conference of the Association of Procurement Practitioners of Nigeria Awards and Gala ceremony held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Correspondent Evelyn Badu Epo reports.
This gathering of professional procurement practitioners in Nigeria is to encourage robust procurement practices among them, while preventing corruption and other unethical behavior, safeguard public funds, and promote integrity. The meeting is also calling on procurement practitioners here to integrate sustainable procurement policies that align with organizational objectives.
We are calling on them to join the hands to build this nation, to shun sharp practices and embrace good ethical value in the practice of public procurement.
It is a collective effort, all of us, the public procurement, which is part and parcel of public financial management. If we can do justice to it, we will change the patterns.
The Association of Public Procurement Practitioners of Nigeria is a highly valuable and strategic national asset.
The unveiling of the Maiden Procurement Journal at the conference is to encourage managerial strategy and related concerns. 39 persons were inducted as fellows of the association, and while there was the inauguration of Akwa Ibom State Executive of the association. Governors of Yobe and Kebbi states were honored as Procurement Compliance Governors of the Year, while the Inspector General of Police and Akwa Ibom State Governor were awarded for excellent governance. In Yo, Evelyn Badu Eku, NTA News.
Business News is up with Bernie Adams. It's over to you, Bernie.
Thank you, Lami. And now talking business, civil society organizations from 14 ECOWAS member states are working on a framework towards combating money laundering and terrorism financing in West Africa. They say blocking the source of finance for terrorism is a major step to controlling violent extremism, which is a threat to the whole of mankind.
Laundering and the financing of terrorism is increasingly linked to organized crime, posing a growing threat to consumers, businesses, and government alike. The global nature of economic and financial crime is such that no nation can fight the problem alone. Making international cooperation and working closely with our key allies is a critical part of our response. Against this backdrop, that is why you are here as civil society, the tail setter of our society.
Aside the integrity of complicit financial institutions being damaged, money laundering and terrorism financing have dire consequences on the region's foreign direct investment. Nonetheless, having our CSOs take their rightful place at center stage with all other relevant stakeholders is imperative, as their voices have effect and reach out to the far and near.
And the African Export-Import Bank has disbursed $925 million to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited as part of a syndicated $3.3 billion crude oil-backed repayment facility. This brings the total disbursement to NNPC Limited to $3.175 billion. Afreximbank says the deal was the largest crude-backed facility in Nigeria and one of the largest syndicated debts raised in Africa. Afreximbank said the funds were raised from a consortium of crude oil off-taker lenders, including Owando Group and Sahara Energy Resources Limited. The trade bank had sought oil traders to fund the crude-backed loan to NNPC with the aim of supporting Nigeria's macroeconomic stability and growth. And in December, Afreximbank received funding commitments totaling $2.25 million for the NNPC Limited loan request. And on the commodities market, oil steadied on Friday as OPEC Plus members Saudi Arabia and Russia indicated readiness to pass or reserve oil output increases, but crude was still headed for its third straight weekly loss on demand concerns. Brent crude futures were down 11 cents to $75.76 a barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 13 cents to $75.68. Market strategists say oil prices managed to regain some ground over the past few days, tapping on some reassurances from OPEC+. A Chinese data on Friday also showed exports grew for a second month in May, while imports data underlined concerns about weak domestic demand as crude oil imports fell. And a quick look at the markets. Investors gained 49.10 billion naira as the oil share index advanced by 0.09% to close at 99,221.14 basis points. A total of 388 million shares in 7,106 deals, corresponding to a market value of 7.353 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 25% improvement in volume, 37% improvement in turnover, and 5% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 56.1 trillion naira. On the aggregate, 126 listed equities participated in the trading, ending with 23 gainers and 18 losers. Access Holdings recorded the highest volume of 81 million traded shares, followed by Zenith Bank and Fidelity Bank. That is business news. More news after this break. Do stay with us.
Thank you for staying. The Nigerian Communications Satellites Limited, NICOMSAT, has pledged to support the Voice of Nigeria by providing seamless connectivity and satellite communication to enhance its broadcast operations. Managing Director, NICOMSAT, Jane Nkechi Egerton-Idehe, made the commitments when the Director General, Voice of Nigeria, Jibrin Babandachi, and his management team paid her a visit at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. Chukununso Mwabwezi has details.
With the Voice of Nigeria making plans to expand its broadcasting languages beyond the existing 8 to now include Portuguese, Bahasa Indonesia, as well as the Chinese languages. The collaborative visit, the Director General Von Jibre Babandache said, is strategic towards ensuring an unhindered projection of positive narratives about Nigeria to the global community.
We have a lot to do together. You are in charge of the airspace and we are of the airwaves. Yes. So we are in it together. It is our country. We believe that now is the time for us as a nation to be very deliberate in creating believable, timely, and very truthful narrative about our country.
Managing Director of Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited expressed the willingness of NICOMSAT to partner with VON in actualizing the renewed hope agenda of the present administration.
NICOMSAT is about to enter a phase where we want to talk about what we should do next, which is the next satellite. But one of the big challenges that will be faced is miscommunication, misrepresentation, fake news if you want to call it. But we want to own the narrative and be ahead of the narrative. And I think that's why our partnership is so strategic.
DG Von offered a free time for a weekly program on policies and activities of NICOMSAT on its various platforms during the visit. Chukunonso Mwabweze, NTA News.
Now, Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf has commended the political will of the federal government in ensuring food security through various intervention initiatives. During the flag-off of the construction of 70-kilometer rural access roads in the state, the governor acknowledges the receipt of 70 trucks of assorted fertilizer from the federal government for distribution to farmers free of charge. Abdullahi Mustafa has the details.
Through the State Agro-Pastoral Development Project, Kano is working with development partners towards achieving 50% reduction in the number of people being affected by food shortages. The 70-kilometer rural access road project, which is to gulp 9.9 billion naira, aims to facilitate movement of people, commodities and livestock to and from farmlands and markets.
Which is also aimed at improving human and agricultural profit movement.
The initiative Governor Bakabir Yusuf noted will improve economic activities, especially now that the federal government is supporting states with agricultural inputs to farmers. He thanked President Tinubu for approving the release of several tons of fertilizer to Kano farmers, describing it as a display of political will to enhance food and nutrition security in the country. Through partnership with the federal government and development partners, the governor assured More projects would be initiated to enhance the quality of lives of rural dwellers. The first phase of the rural road projects cover 14.7 km Milgoma Yankasari and Rijiyar Gwangwan Road network, which is to be completed within 12 months. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
As the airlift of this year's intending pilgrims to Saudi Arabia progresses, the inaugural flight of the Association for Hajj and Umrah Operators has been commissioned at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, with about 300 passengers on board. The Chairman, National Hajj Commission, Jalal Arabi, and the Chairman of the Association of Hajj and Umrah Operators, Abdul Latif Ekundayo Yusuf, in a message, have urged the intending pilgrims to respect the law of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, be good ambassadors of Nigeria, and pray for peace and prosperity of the country.
Why there in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to again give a good name to our country, Nigeria, and not to create problem for the operators that are taking you there. And they will pray continuously that Almighty Allah will give the tour operator the strength.
This is the first flight. We are going to have the second one tomorrow, inshallah, and the third one next tomorrow, inshallah, out of country.
We rejoin Ignatius as the venue of the minimum wage negotiations here in Abuja for more information. Ignatius, so tell us the latest there.
Has the meeting ended? Has the meeting ended?
Ignatius, can you hear me?
Okay, all right. Well, this is the venue of the ongoing tripartite committee meeting going on. Now, these are some of the members of that committee. We have with us here the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma. He's here to tell us how the engagement has been progressing. Thank you for joining us on Network News.
Yeah, well, the meeting is going very well. We're almost there. And we're just about to sign the reports, and then that will bring the meeting to complete closure, and then everything will now follow. The committee has worked so hard, and the committee has reached agreement. The tripartite committee is made up of three parties: the government, the organized private sector, and the organized labor. And in the wisdom of the committee, they have put together a recommendation that will be forwarded to Mr. President for further action. The organized private sector and the federal government and the government have agreed on a figure, 62,000. The organized labor is still asking for 250,000. But at the end of the day, what is very important is that there is this conviviality. We are talking, is a discussion, and no hostility anymore. And the national anxiety is going to be relaxed as soon as this is made public. And that, I think, will be the beauty of the conversation. And I'm very happy that we've been able to manage this temptation that befell our nation, so that the government can face their business and Nigerians also can be relaxed and go about their businesses without fear of any further embarrassment.
Thank you very much for your time. Now we have the TUC president here. What is your observation? How will you feel with the agreement reached so far?
Yes, you know, this meeting reconvened from Tuesday this week, and it's been serious work. At a time, we had to even break into technical committees to crunch the numbers and to look at the numbers. And as just reported by His Excellency Governor Senator Hope Uzodimma, Governor of Imo State, on where we are, that is the true position of things. As we are currently, the OPS, Organized Private Sector, and the government side, they have recommended 62,000 naira to be the minimum wage. But for us, from labor, we felt that with the current economic hardship and with the difficulty in the land, that the sum of 200,000 naira, the sum of 250,000 naira should be the what would be okay as the minimum wage. So these we are going to sign a report we forward this position to Mr. President. This committee is to make recommendation to Mr. President. So we forward it to Mr. President, and Mr. President will make a recommendation to the National Assembly, and we'll keep pushing to ensure that we have a wage that is that stands the test of time in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, as it stands now, we have the chairman of the committee here. So let's feel his pulse. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, how will you see? How will you describe the negotiation process?
Yeah. In the last 4 months or so, the issue of the new national minimum wage has been topical. It's been reported everywhere, from the social media, the print media, the electronic media. A lot of work had gone into it. In the last 4 months, the tripartite committee had several meetings. The plenary meeting of today is our 12th meeting. This is how serious the business has been. And the recommendation you've just had is as a result of a very deep dialogue and consensus reached at the tripartite level. And the situation that we are recommending to Mr. President somehow is repeating itself because it happened in the 2018 exercise. You will all recall that in 2018, it was the other way. The organized private sector and the organized labor recommended 30,000 as minimum wage, while the government side in the 2018 recommended 24,000 naira. And that was the recommendation. You could clearly see that two figures went to the president as a recommendation for his consideration for onward transmission to the National Assembly for it to become a law. That's exactly where we are. And all along, I don't know whether people have clearly understood the mandate of the tripartite committee. It is to recommend. The tripartite committee has no powers whatsoever to approve, but to recommend. And the recommendation today came as a result of deeper understanding and deeper studies of all the economic indices, the current inflation situation, the state of the economy, affordability, ability, capability, sustainability. Caution had been displayed all through, so that a figure that would further throw the country into confusion is not announced. This is because if any party goes into an agreement of a figure that it knows from its sources it cannot afford, then it's going to create another problem. But I thank God that all wisdom came together, and that the recommendation to Mr. President is going along the direction that you have just heard from His Excellency, the Governor of Imo State, who played a very critical role in mediating this process with his colleague, the Governor of Kwara State. So we thank also the members of the media for the patience. And we have no complaint the way the media has been reporting this exercise from the time we started. My apology is that I have been approached several times as the chairman to talk, but the civil service in me will not allow me to talk until we come to a day like today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Minister for Labour and Employment, you are the link between the Labour and government. What is your take on the whole negotiation process?
My take is that we've done our job, and thank God that we've come to conclusion of the process that started 4 months ago. And like I said yesterday, that at the end of the day, you're going to hear what the figure is. And I repeat, it's issue of 3 people negotiating, and you don't expect them to come in one day and just agree, because there are certain indices that you have to take into consideration, and there are certain things that they are also looking at. And then having come to this end, I believe that we have to move forward. So I'm satisfied.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is it. And now this recommendation will now be forwarded to the National Assembly in the form of an executive bill, and now it's not left for the National Assembly to begin its legislative consideration. Like we did say earlier, it's now within the purview of the National Assembly to either increase or reduce what the committee has recommended. Now it's back to the studio for the continuation of our news.
Thank you, Ignatius, our correspondent there, speaking with the various parties negotiating the new national minimum wage. You're still watching NTA Network News. We take some more messages. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying. About 50 people, including 3 U.S. citizens and a Belgian, went on trial on Friday in the Democratic Republic of Congo over what the army called an attempted coup. Comfort Fashion has details of this and more on Global Update.
The presiding judge of the Kinshasa military courts, Freddie Ehume, told the court in the DRC capital the actions of the 3 Americans were punishable by death. The alleged coup bid occurred on May 19 when armed men attacked the home of the economy minister, Vital Kamerhe, in the early hours before moving on to the nearby Palais de la Nation that houses President Felix Tshisekedi's officers. In another news, Denmark, Greece, Pakistan, Panama and Somalia have been elected as non-permanent members of United Nations Security Council, having obtained the required 2/3 majority and the largest number of votes. The election, which took place during a session in New York City, will be for a 2-year term beginning from January 1st, 2025. The 5 nations will reportedly replace Ecuador, Japan, Malta, Mozambique and Switzerland, whose terms end on December 31st, 2024. And voters in Ireland and the Czech Republic heads to the polls Friday on the second day of the elections for the European Parliament. Almost 400 million voters will be electing 720 members of the European Parliament to 5-year terms. And final results will not be released until Sunday night once every country has voted. Comfort Fashion, NTA News.
For more sports news, let's join Olumide Guntola on Sports Updates.
Nigeria's Tima Godbless secured an automatic qualification for the women's 200-meter event for the Paris 2024 Olympics after running 22.56 seconds at the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championship in Eugene Friday morning. She had already qualified for the women's 100 meters event last month, becoming the first double automatic qualifier from Nigeria. A total of 13 Nigerian athletes have now automatically qualified for various events at the 2024 Olympics. In the Nigerian Premier League, one of the biggest fixtures taking place this weekend is in Enugu, as former African champions Enyimba Football Club of Aba will lock arms with Enugu Rangers in search of the 2024 title. Only 2 points separated both teams on the top of the table. With Rangers having the upper hand, this match may be a breaker for which of the teams will win the 2024 trophy. And in tennis, for the first time, Jasmine Paolini will be playing her first Grand Slam title match this weekend after winning a semi-final match on Thursday.
I picked Iga for this one because I believe after the scare she had in the second round against Naomi, she kind of like mentally decided that she wanted to win this French Open. So for Paolini, she probably is going to be overwhelmed by the moment.
The Italian will face 3-time Roland Garros champion Iga Swiatek in Saturday's final. With sports updates, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
And information reaching us from the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, is that Nigeria is playing 1-1 draw just a few minutes to the end of the World Cup qualifier between Nigeria and South Africa. That is how the game stands at this moment. 1-1 draw between Nigeria and South Africa, and we wish the Super Eagles all the best. And on this note, we come to the end of the news. Thank you for watching. Do have a beautiful weekend.